For nearly 4 decades, one man stood at the center of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Through revolution, war, sanctions, diplomacy, regional conflict, and internal political challenges, Ali Khamenei remained the country's highest authority. But every long era eventually reaches its final chapter. His death marked more than the passing of a political leader. It marked the beginning of a new phase in Iran's history. How will history remember Ali Khamenei? And what comes after one of the longest leaderships in the modern Middle East? On February 28, 2026, Ali Khamenei died at the age of 86 in Israeli strike. For 37 years, he had been the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. For many Iranians, he was the only supreme leader they had ever known. His death was not merely the passing of a man, it was the end of a political epoch. The announcement, state media interrupted regular programming. A formal statement confirmed his death. Condolences flowed from state institutions, allied governments, and regional partners. Mosques held memorial prayers. Public offices lowered flags. Security forces were placed on heightened alert, not for ceremony alone, but for stability. Transitions in revolutionary systems are moments of vulnerability. Continuity must be demonstrated quickly. Authority must appear seamless. National reactions inside Iran were varied. Supporters gathered in mourning ceremonies. They remembered his wartime leadership, his resistance rhetoric, his emphasis on independence. Others observed quietly. Some viewed his passing as closure, the end of a steadfast guardian of sovereignty. Still others focused less on symbolism and more on what would follow. Iran had endured decades of sanctions, unrest, and geopolitical confrontation under his tenure. The question was no longer about the man. It was about the system, the succession process. Under the Constitution, the Assembly of Experts is responsible for selecting the supreme leader. Behind closed doors, deliberations began. Potential successors had been discussed quietly for years. Clerical rank, political loyalty, institutional alliances, all were factors. The Revolutionary Guard's perspective carried weight. Stability was paramount. Khamenei had spent decades strengthening institutions. Now those institutions faced their defining test. Could they transition without fracture? The institutional legacy. Ali Khamenei's leadership was marked less by charisma than by consolidation. He strengthened the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as military and economic actor. The Guardian Council's electoral oversight, the judiciary's alignment with ideological priorities, state broadcasting as narrative instrument. He oversaw a hybrid political structure, elections within defined parameters. Presidents came and went. He remained. His leadership style was deliberate and strategic. He did not seek constant visibility. He cultivated durability, foreign policy footprint. Under Khamenei, Iran expanded its regional footprint. Alliances in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen deepened. Missile capabilities advanced. The nuclear program became focal point of international diplomacy and sanctions. To supporters, this strategic depth deterred adversaries. To critics, it entrenched confrontation and economic hardship. But it undeniably reshaped the Middle East balance of power. Iran became a central actor in regional calculations. Economic realities, sanctions defined much of his tenure. Economic resilience campaigns emphasized self-reliance. Yet inflation, unemployment, and currency volatility persisted. Oil revenue fluctuated under pressure. Private sector growth faced structural constraints. Khamenei framed economic endurance as proof of sovereignty. But generational frustration grew alongside economic strain. Social transformation. The Islamic Republic under Khamenei preserved strict social codes. Dress regulations, media controls, and moral enforcement remained central. Yet society evolved regardless. Digital connectivity expanded. Youth culture globalized. Educational attainment rose. The tension between institutional conservatism and social dynamism intensified. His final years saw some of the most significant protests since the revolution. They subsided, but they left marks. The question of stability. The true measure of a long-serving leader is not only what he builds, but whether it endures after him. Khamenei inherited a revolution built on charisma. He transformed it into a system built on structure. His approach emphasized continuity over experimentation, security over rapid reform, resistance over accommodation. Now the Islamic Republic entered a post-Khamenei phase. Its durability would depend on the very architecture he reinforced. International response. Global reactions were measured. Western governments issued formal statements. Regional allies emphasized solidarity. Adversaries assessed implications. Some analysts predicted policy recalibration. Others anticipated continuity. Much depended on succession. But Khamenei's influence on regional strategy would not vanish overnight. Institutional momentum rarely reverses quickly. Historical judgment. How will history assess Ali Khamenei? As a steadfast guardian of sovereignty, as a pragmatic strategist who preserved a revolutionary state, or as a leader who resisted adaptation in a changing society? The answer may depend on Iran's trajectory in the decades that follow. If the system adapts and thrives, his consolidation may be viewed as foresight. If instability deepens, critics may argue reform was delayed too long. History's verdict is rarely immediate. Final monologue. The Iron Guardian. Ali Hosseini Khamenei was born in a modest clerical household in Mashhad in 1939. He came of age under monarchy. He embraced revolution. He survived assassination. He governed during war. He inherited supreme authority. For 37 years, he stood at the apex of the Islamic Republic. He navigated sanctions, reform movements, regional wars, and generational unrest. He strengthened institutions designed to preserve ideological continuity. He expanded Iran's regional influence. He resisted external pressure. He confronted internal dissent. He outlasted presidents. He outlasted global realignments. He outlasted expectations. In the end, his life traced the arc of modern Iran itself: revolution, conflict, consolidation, resistance, transformation, unresolved. The man is gone. The system remains. Whether that system evolves, fractures, or endures will determine how his legacy is ultimately defined. For now, one fact stands clear. For nearly 4 decades, the Islamic Republic of Iran bore the imprint of a single leader. And history will remember him, not for a single speech or single decision, but for the endurance of his rule.